Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ibrahim Nwagui Corporate Dropout University, and this is another episode of the Check-In, where we check in with our favorite entrepreneurs, hustlers, and influencers to see how they are doing during these unprecedented times. I'm using all of my vocabulary from the good old South Carolina State University. That's what I got. I'm here with the gentleman that I recently became acquainted with, and we immediately hit it off, and of course, this is about shining light on my fellow entrepreneurs. So, without further ado, I would like you, sir, to introduce yourself and just give us a little bit of background on, not too, you don't have to go too deep, but just the main thing that you got going on right now.
Cool, man. Appreciate the opportunity, my brother. My name is Terrance Stevenson. I am the co-owner of Alasso Performance Solutions, which is an umbrella company for three businesses under that umbrella company. One of them is an HR consulting arm where my wife does HR consulting. She's multi-degreed from the University of Illinois, and her specialty is human resources and organizational development, as well as organizational change. So she helps organizations assess where they are, figure out where they've been, and how to chart a course forward. And so she's really, really gifted in doing that. Um, she currently is the executive director for human resources with the YOU organization. It's a nonprofit in the Evanston, Illinois area, where it's a program that gives youth opportunities outside of school to help them take advantage of the opportunities that they have, um, whether it be academic, social, emotional, mental, spiritual. They do kind of a comprehensive type of thing, which is really, really dope. And so she just started that position recently. And so we're still doing the HR consulting piece. She also does back office work for small businesses. So the concept behind the business and the way that it kind of came about was she saw a need in small businesses in our community that um, the small businesses were big enough to need someone to handle their books and help them manage their books, but they weren't big enough to have an accountant on staff. And so what she would do is come in, help organize the books, and then show them some tools, give them some tools to help them keep things going. And so she's done that for, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 companies here in our city. Um, and then also under that umbrella, we have um, the Para Elite Lifestyle Management, which is my favorite because what it does is one of the specialties that we offer with that is it's a concierge business. So if because we live in Champaign, Illinois, which is the home of the University of Illinois, is a very transient community. And so we have a lot of people coming in, a lot of people transitioning out. And so what we do is for individuals that are moving here, like a lot of professors, lawyers, doctors, what have you, they'll reach out to us to help them coordinate all of the pieces to their move, whether they're coming or leaving. And so we kind of help with that. But also under that, um, one of the things that we do is we provide entertainment services. So I, as a DJ, do my business, my DJ business under that umbrella. And so I do corporate events, private events. And during the summer, we were awarded a grant through Urbana um, Arts Council. They gave us a nice pile of money because we were throwing these monthly parties in the park. We partnered with the park district, and we would throw these huge free parties in the park. And the Urbana Arts Council saw that it was something that was drawing a lot of people. We were seeing 200-300 people every month, and they wanted a part of it. And so they partnered with us to give us some money to help defray our costs. And that's kind of what we do. And I love it, man. It's a grind, but I love it.
Man, I mean, just hearing this, number one, filling that void and finding that niche, that's like paramount for me. And then number two, keeping it all in the family. Like I just I'm I'm immediately a fan
Oh man,
already. I'm
man,
a fan already.
our daughters do our social media because that's not our lane. So one of my daughters' Instagram is her thing, Instagram and Twitter. So she maintains that. She handles all of that. It's dope, and we pay her. I mean, we literally cut her a check when she does work.
And this is, and not to go off on a tangent because we got business to attend to,
Right.
but this is what we see this in other cultures. And within a generation, they have closed the wealth gap
Yep.
just from everybody, all hands on deck, mom, father, kids, grandparents, all hands on deck for one generation. And next thing you know, boom, you know, they have immediately improved their situation in bounds that probably some cultures they don't see it. They may never see it, or they don't see it for 2 or 3 generations.
That's
So
true.
I think that is something that definitely needs to have a light shown on it for you guys to be doing that and promoting. I think that it should be promoted, in the sense of like this should be the norm.
Oh, absolutely.
That should be the norm. We shouldn't be. I'm not gonna tell people they should. Okay, I'm gonna stay away from that. But I salute that, and I can't wait till my baby. My baby's about to turn 5. One of them, and the other one's is 2. And they starting to the 5-year-old is starting to make sense of the world. She's starting to understand, like, oh, if I want this, then I gotta do this. I gotta talk to this person a certain way to get this. Well, oh, now you're starting to figure out what the world is like. I'm about to put work.
Yeah, man. I mean, my son, I'm trying to find something for him to do because I got a buddy, one of my fraternity brothers. His wife is a lawyer. She's a big time lawyer in our city, and so his logic was, we figure out, you pick a lane, and you run that lane, and you make a path for your children to follow. So
Yeah.
he's got 2 kids. He's got one in law school, one in undergrad, one getting ready to go to undergrad, and they're all doing law. He's like, she figured out the blueprint. All y'all got to do is run in that lane. And so his logic is, send them all to law school, and then she hired them when they get out and they got a firm. His logic, it makes perfect sense, man. You invest in your family.
There is a wild card, and that is you're planning for a completely separate human being, and you know how that sometimes is. So I think that you kind of got to have a disclaimer on that too. You got to be like, hey, man, the logic that I have as a parent and as a father in specifically is I have to understand that I can work as hard as I can possibly work, and I can build as much as I can possibly build. And I have to understand that one day, whether it's tomorrow or 100 years from now, it will be completely wiped clear, right? There's a possibility it could stand or could be. I have to already accept that I can pour all of this into a thing and it not yield anything that I thought it would yield, and I have to be okay with that and still accept the work. So I think that what they're doing is what they need to do, but then they also got to know that, that's the wild card in there. I mean, that person, they go through all that, because how many stories do we hear about a person? And look, my father is Nigerian, so the Nigerian culture, they try that all the time. They set people on tracks, and then they get older and they want to be a dancer,
Like, how you gonna make a living doing that when you can do this? It makes sense.
Look, that's a whole nother conversation. We definitely can dive into it. But what we're here to do is, this is the check-in. And so the question that I like to lead with primarily is a question that we ask one another, but we don't really wait for the response. And so I'd like to ask you, as an entrepreneur, as a Black man in this world, everything that has been going on over the last year and a half or whatever, over a year, right? How are you doing?
My typical answer is I'm maintaining. I'm maintaining. Just like you do these check-ins with entrepreneurs, I have uh, three different generations that I check in with every week. Someone older than me, someone my age, and then someone younger than me. And that's one of the leading questions that we ask. How are you? You know, how you hanging, how you maintaining? And I'm maintaining, man. It's a challenge being a black man raising a 9-year-old black son in this world, and trying to help him understand the realities of racism, um, trying to help him understand how he has to um, be careful. He has to be, he can't just be himself in a lot of spaces because that's not necessarily safe all the time. And so we have conversations every Thursday. We typically try to go somewhere um, and just ride and just have a conversation just to check in with him. But it's a challenge, man. It's a challenge. Um, I'm grateful for the check-ins that I have with the men in my life. The older gentleman, he's retired 3 times, once from the military, once from the University of Illinois, and then once again from the United States Post Office. And he's just full of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? And he kind of reminds me of my father, in that the older I get, the smarter he gets. You know what I'm saying? The things that he's forgotten more stuff than I'll probably ever know. And so he's well traveled. He's a distinguished gentleman, and so it's really refreshing to have conversations with him because it allows me access to an experienced gentleman. The gentlemen that I speak with that are my age, we talk shop. We share frustrations, struggles, victories, successes. We share all of that because we're the same age. And so those are refreshing conversations. But the younger people that I talk to, they kind of help keep me connected with what's happening in culture. Like they have their pulse, their finger on the pulse of what's new, what's coming, new music, new fashion, new technology, new ideas, stuff that ain't even on my radar. That's like common knowledge for them. Like that's their universe. And so being able to tap into that helps me stay current, helps me stay connected. And those are things that I think I need to be a bit more well-rounded. So that's how I'm doing. I'm maintaining.
Man, once again, you hit the nail on the head, because now I'm thinking about it like I have maybe a loose similarity to that routine, and I'm feeling like, well, you know what, maybe I need to make it more of a concrete, deliberate interaction. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, with an older, individual, make sure that I set time up for that so that it doesn't, I look up and it's been months, weeks, years, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, with the young generation, because I mean, it's easy. I think probably you may be able to attest to this. The shop talk is probably the most accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you guys
Very
are kind of on the same track.
Right.
But, it takes a little extra effort or a little extra thought to, clear out that time with the older gentleman, or to, clear out that time and make sure that you make it important to sit with the young people and not sit with them in an authoritative space.
Right. I'm their student. I'm their student in those conversations.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Not coming at them with the, y'all. Well, first of all, calling somebody millennial don't even make sense now, because we millennials are, newsflash, millennials almost 40 out here.
Right.
So that alone, anytime I hear somebody starting to get on millennials, I already know immediately you are out of touch.
Yeah.
I can't even, like, we're not gonna be able to have this conversation, man. Because you still think that I'm in the club, and I got gray hairs now.
Right.
And,
right.
But
I think that speaks to people being out of touch, and not being humble enough to say, I don't know something.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
those conversations with those younger people, that forces me to be a student. That forces me to humble myself and learn from some people who know more about a subject than I do. And I don't look at it as a bad thing. I don't look at it as a negative thing. Um, when we get together, man, and talk shop, man, I chop it up with them. I buy pizza because I can afford it. They can't. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them are college students. Man, they looking for a good meal. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I fire up the grill. Y'all come over, man. Let's sit down and have a conversation. I'll fire up some cigars or whatever, man, just so that I can have access, create the environment, man. And it's very
Yeah.
intentional. It's very intentional.
They truly are the resource.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and man, I mean, this conversation goes anyway, man, because I'm even thinking about how um, decreasing ego in my life has allowed me to take leaps and bounds in my personal development and growth. Just challenging my ego on things that when I was a teenager and in the early 20s, it's like ego or excel. Ego every time,
Yep.
every single time. I'm
Yep.
pushing the ego button,
Yep.
and it kept me stagnant, man. And to the point now where I credit decreasing ego with saving my life, saving a lot of things in my life. So stay teachable. That to me is the message, and all of that
Absolutely.
is remain teachable.
Yeah.
Um, with this with this umbrella that you and your wife have developed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it sounds so multifaceted, but I know that there's in a way it all ties together. But with everything that happened last year, and we're talking about the pandemic to the social justice
Mm-hmm.
actions and just a rise in awareness and just everything. I mean, even up to the freaking Capitol being stormed, all of these things, everything happening. Um, how has all of those things? How have all of those things like affected the way that you guys run your business? Has it affected how you run your business?
Absolutely. We are. We actually had a conversation about being a bit more intentional with the people that we work with.
Hmm.
Um, and so, with my wife getting this gig in Evanston, um, we got to sell our house. You know what I'm saying? And so in our conversation, we were talking and we were like, so, there's a lady that we used to work with together at a local college here in town who's a realtor, but she's white. And no disrespect. I mean, she's great at what she does, but I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to find a black realtor. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, everybody we do business with, I'm making it a point to engage. I got to find a black option. I got to find a black option. Uh,
That's
we're, we're,
important.
we're we're doing more business. It's interesting. We're doing more business with black owned businesses than we ever have, because a lot of black owned businesses are growing, but they're not growing to the point where they can hire a full blown accountant or someone to handle all their tax work or what have you. So it's amazing, man. The networking that we're able to enjoy now because we're a bit more intentional than we were before.
Yeah.
So because of that intentionality, we're able to engage, and by word of mouth, we're growing probably to the point where we can probably turn some things away. That's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the pandemic definitely took a toll, because now not only are we professionals and we own a small business, we also became homeschool teachers. And I went to college, but I didn't go to college to be an educator.
Man, I went to college to be educated. I still got my head smacked open.
Man, listen, it's so. As an aside, I got my daughters. They're bookworms. They're smarter than I ever could have been at that age.
Mm-hmm.
Academically, socially, emotionally, like they're light years ahead of where I was, and I'm still watching them grow and develop. But my son, you know, we ended up deciding to pull him out and homeschool him.
Mm-hmm.
And so we joined all these homeschool networks, so that we could get resources and ideas and curriculum. And bro, it's on top of everything else. It's a challenge. It's a challenge, man. But I will say that it's allowing us the opportunity to infuse his academic process with information that he probably wasn't, no, I'm certain he wasn't getting in public school. So we're able to teach, faith, we're able to teach social justice, we're able to teach accurate history. You know what I'm saying? And we weren't able to do that before. And so while it's a challenge to juggle all of these things and keep all these balls in the air, it's my hope and prayer that is in the long run more beneficial.
This has been my sentiment for probably close to a year now. I think that once we get out 100 years from 2020, I think that the pandemic will definitely be a footnote. But I think I strongly believe that we'll look at this time period more so as a renaissance than a tragedy, which it very much so is a tragedy because of the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about how this situation has just like prompted a lot of people to mobilize and a lot of initiatives to mobilize. If we needed a kick in the butt ever before, I think that this was the one. Like this was the real one. And we've had them, right? We've had them all through the years, right? We had, you could just name them all. Emmett Till, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we done had all types of kicks in the butt. Like, you know what? We got it. I feel like this is the one. This is the one. And the reason that I think this is the one, you said something important. You're being deliberate about who you deal with, right? Now, if you're not completely confident in your reasoning, you can get sucked into the reverse racism level, right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but at this point, I feel like you ever been around a person and in the moment happens where you realize like, I can't trust a thing coming out your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just talking to like you're dealing with a person and you probably like, okay, well they said this and they said that, and then at some point you start to see that like what they say don't really. It's like they say one thing in one moment and then the next moment they saying the complete opposite, and you're like, man, I can't.
Man, I've had family do that.
I can't take you seriously, and so I think that if you still have to wrestle with the idea of us being deliberate about uplifting us at this point, when they literally are moving the goalposts every single opportunity that they could possibly do. And this is the thing, we don't even have the hate in our heart. Like, we the ones who taking these things, taking all of this crap, and we still was like, look, bro, I don't hate you. I just want to, I'm tired of being on the bottom. And I found all these ways to like move myself up, but you keep like looking over. Like it's funny. It's like my daughter. I make so many like connections, right? My daughter, man, she could have a toy in the corner and it's collecting cobwebs.
Yep.
My son touched that toy.
Man, it's on.
That's her favorite toy.
It's on and popping.
That's her favorite toy now, and that's how I kind of like rationalize. This situation on the racial tip is like, dang, bro, I went over here, I created my own lane, and now you're saying, well, I like that lane too.
Yeah.
All lanes. let me.
What's really interesting though, I think this renaissance that you speak of it's actually been in the works for a while.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
if you look at during Black History Month, me and my son and my daughters, we would watch a Black movie weekly. Like we'd pick one and
hmm
we would just sit as a family and check it out. And if
yeah,
you look at the number of, I mean, just look at Black music, Black movies, um, Black books, man, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming that's been on in the works and it's just surfacing now. I
yeah,
mean, and the quality is outstanding. Like it's
yeah,
not, somebody with a cell phone shooting a flick kind of thing.
yeah,
It's high production quality. The audio is phenomenal. The soundtracks are dope. I mean, it's real. I mean, I liken it to the Harlem Renaissance, where
yeah,
there was just this flood of Black creativity. And I think,
yeah,
say what we will or may about the pandemic, it's kind of forced people to pivot. Like I'm in this lane, but that lane is shut down because of the world closing. I can't
yeah,
do that like I want to do it. So now I got to figure out what else I can do. And so let me run this creativity lane and see what happens. That's kind of literally how you and I connected. That's literally
exactly.
how we connected. I mean, I wasn't in any way, shape, or form trying to get into the production side of podcasts and blogs and all those kinds of things. I wasn't trying to do that.
Right.
But when the University of Illinois in August of 2019 said we no longer can employ you, we got to cut you loose. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I gotta feed my family. I got a mortgage to pay. My daughter's in cheer. That's expensive. I got my other daughter. She's a musician. That's expensive. My wife, she has very expensive taste. That's expensive.
And that's why we
I
got.
like things. That's expensive. So I need some loot. And so I got all this gear. I got music. I got, piles of records and all kinds of
Yeah.
files everywhere. I was like, man, let me see what I can do with it. And it just so happened that a mutual friend of ours reached out to my wife, and they are old friends, and was like, I got this idea. Do you know anybody who can help me? And my wife was like, yeah, my husband does that. And it blossomed into her sharing what I'm doing for her with you. And you're like, man, I need some of that. And so I'm sharing what you do with my networks, and they're like, man, I might need some of that. And so that's kind of how this whole thing, that's literally how it's supposed to work. And so being able to pivot by force versus by choice, either way, I think it's a good thing. Being able to just figure out another, even if that lane that you normally run isn't as fluid as you would like, finding
Mhm.
another way to still be creative, to be able to still make some loot and still be able to contribute to the society at large, I think is a dope thing.
100%, man. And it's fun. It's funny that you use the word lane because, like, I'm by trade, I'm a logistician, right? Like, I'm in trucking, I'm in transportation, and so I work with these truck drivers, and I build their lanes for them. And it's just so funny. You could just see the different types of people. You can tell who is going to be successful and who won't. And the reason that most will not be successful is because if we have them on a set lane, right, and they've gotten used to that lane, something happens to the lane. It's beyond our control. But we say, well, look, this lane does not exist anymore. But to keep your wheels rolling, I can give you this, take you here, take you here. It's kind of like little short runs, but if you look at the end of the week, you may be close to what you normally would run.
Right.
You got some guys that are like, hey, makes sense, let's do it. The other guys like, oh, you guys are, you're falling off, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, we're talking about continuing to help you feed your family. You just can't make the connect. And I think that is the type of spirit that us as entrepreneurs, we have that nimbleness about us. We're
Flexibility.
already, we ready to pivot at any moment because of nature. And I guess there's an irony in my mission, because my mission is to normalize entrepreneurship, but in its essence, the only constant a lot of times in entrepreneurship is change aspect.
Yep. Yep.
But like I said, everything has like tools that just work. So I want us as entrepreneurs to have access to the tools that absolutely work. There's always going to be a kind of a risk factor with stepping out there and being your own boss, but somebody got to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And why not the people that it's our nature to just figure it out anyway?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's our nature.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a dope lane to run in, but it's scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, at least me as a man, I like predictability. I like knowing at the end of the week, I'm gonna have X amount of dollars. I'll be able to handle these particular things. I like that predictability.
Yeah.
What COVID has taught me is that I need to be flexible. I need to save more, because there are gonna be weeks that are great and there are gonna be weeks that are not so great. And in those weeks that are not so great, if I've done what I need to do, I'll be okay during those times.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily my mindset when I had a day-to-day. When I had a day-to-day, I knew either I got paid once a month, twice a month, or every week. I knew routinely I had X amount of dollars coming in. And as a man, being able to provide for your family and having them feel secure in your ability to provide, that does something for me as a man. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
Not to get into the whole, men do this, women do that kind of thing, because I cook more than my wife does, and I probably cook better than she does. Don't tell her I said that.
Come on now, get me in trouble.
But the reality is, as a man, I like being able to put a few dollars in my kids' pocket when they're going out to the mall. You know what I'm saying? I like being able to do those kinds of things.
Is that the biggest difference from before COVID to after COVID? Is that the biggest difference for you? Or what would you say is the biggest difference pre and post?
Pre-COVID, I think I trusted in the predictability of my paycheck.
Yeah.
Post-COVID or current COVID, I trust my ability to be nimble, to be creative in how I bring money into the house.
Right.
I've done with my DJ stuff, I was normally, it was a hobby. It wasn't nothing that I was really dependent on. But then when COVID happened and everything shut down, people had all of these corporate parties and stuff that they had planned that they didn't have a way or an idea of how they were going to be able to pull it off. So they would reach out to me and I'd give them ideas on how we can make this whole event virtual, and they paid me for it. So I've done stuff for the city of Champaign. I've done stuff for the University of Illinois. I've done stuff for the school districts. I've done stuff for corporations here in town, and they pay well. You know what I'm saying? They pay well. So I think I'm learning to trust me. I'm learning to trust my creativity, my drive. I'm learning to lean into that a little bit more than I did before. Because before it was, you go to work, you do your job, and you get paid. Here it's like, you got to be creative. You got to be, innovative in finding ways to repackage and rethink traditional ways of doing things.
Man, my man George Clinton said it best, man. Program, deprogram, reprogram.
That's it.
You ain't know I knew about that, did you?
Yes, sir. I see you. Yes,
man,
sir.
But it's the truth though. That's the honest truth. Like, because we have been groomed to trust in a system that if you cross your I's and you dot your T's, if you cross your T's and dot your I's, you're going to be taken care of. I mean, and a prime example is it's much like yourself. My mother, even before COVID, she went through a situation like that. And it taught me a valuable lesson because my mother, in my eyes, she is the most consistent and thorough individual, right? And if she can, be laid off or let go because they're downsizing, I'm like, well, who gets it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Who is safe? Because in the back of my mind, it's almost like, when you're very, very naive, and when something quote unquote bad happens to somebody, you kind of like, well, they must have did something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
They did something.
Yeah, they did something. You know what I'm saying? But when you get older and you start to hear stuff happening to people, and you're like, why? And then you go to the why factor. And then you come out of the why factor and you start to understand that the why doesn't even matter as much as what you are ready and prepared to do if and when the event happens. And I think that that's the biggest, that aside from normalizing entrepreneurship, really, really the core of it is, if anything happens, we should, as individuals, have something that we can just do, whether it will just get us from A to B, or if it will just, be your complete, thing that you do full time. But we all need to have something, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, you see a lot of people who have complete trust in the system. When that system fails them, they don't know what to do, and they end up doing something that's irreversible.
Yep. And the reality is, these systems were not designed by us or for us.
Come on now.
And these systems were people. I have conversations with young people all the time about the systems that are in place that we take for granted. Like the justice system was never designed to provide justice for us, ever. It was designed. Systems are it's just like a factory. Systems are designed in a factory to produce an outcome. And there's an individual that designs the system to produce whatever it is he or she is trying to achieve. Well, if you look at the economic system, the education system, the judicial system, pick a system. They are designed to achieve an outcome. And given the country in which we live, it was designed by white people, for white people, to protect and preserve white people. The Constitution was written without us in mind. So the rights and things that you claim, you have access to, those were not, it wasn't written. The people who wrote it owned us. Literally.
I always, this is, I'm what you'll get to know about me is I am literally, like, I like to dumb stuff down, right? So that, like, the basic of the basic person can understand what I'm attempting to convey. Imagine you owned a horse, and at some point, first, this horse learns how to speak human. Then this horse is like, you know what, man? I don't like these conditions.
Right.
You're like, fool, you a horse.
Right.
So how long would it take you, even if you as a black man, how long would it take you to accept that this horse, they learn human, then they start saying they eat, then they want rights, and they want equal rights. How long would it take you to accept that?
Bro.
I don't know if I would be able to accept. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I'd be able to accept it in my lifetime.
I'm not accepting that. I own you. I own you. Right. So
you're animal.
Yeah,
so
bro.
I don't even my expectation, like that's what I was talking about. Like when you start to really think about what we asking these people to do,
bro,
it's really crazy to really expect for them to be like, you know what, man, here.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not gonna happen. I mean, they've proven that that's not gonna happen. They are willing to die to preserve supremacy, bro. And I think we've got to get to the point as a culture where we have that same level of commitment to each other.
Yeah.
Like I need to be just as committed to making sure your business is successful. Good friend of mine, comedian, his name escapes me right now. He's my wife's like second or third cousin. He's on Instagram, and he's doing these videos where he is documenting signing over his business and his home and all of his properties to his children. He's documenting that, and he's talking about, and in his most recent video, he says something really interesting. So they have a friend who is a notary, and they call her over to document, you know, them signing over all of this stuff to their children and just putting their will and their trust and all of this stuff in order for their children. And he stops with the jokes and everything, and he launches into this thing about us needing to make sure that just because we have a friend that is successful and they do something well, that we don't expect them to give us a deal because we're friends with them. That is their business. And so he says, whatever you charge the white people, charge me, because I want to make sure that your business is just as successful as I want my business to be. And that is the level of commitment that Black entrepreneurs have to get to. We have to get there. I need to make sure that if there's somebody that I connect with that need what you have, I'll link y'all. I need to make sure y'all connect. If there's somebody that needs what I have, you need to be able to say, I know a guy who can do that and make the connect. That's the only way we're going to survive in this. We've got to create our own system. We have to.
100%, man. I have to put you in contact as you're saying this. I know who you need to be in contact with next. And I gave him a shameless commercial the 2 episodes ago, and I'm gonna do it again because every time I talk to an African American person or an African person, and we start talking about infrastructure, I always have to shout out GABA, which is the Global African Business Association.
Oh.
And some of the strides and the things that, you know, are being put together, it's like, you know, when we're talking about having our own supply chain coming straight from Africa to these neighborhoods and bypassing the middleman.
Yep.
It's a real thing. Like, it's actually going on. And if you don't know about it, then you just thinking like, oh man, I gotta go through Amazon. Like, nah, like I know somebody that I can call right now that has a pineapple farm in a country in Africa that can have it shipped here and supplied in your neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we have to be connected on that level. And once again, here we are. You keep leading me back to my mission. You keep pushing me back. I'm trying to make this the you show, but you keep pushing me back to my mission, because this here is really at like, okay, I said the other ones, but they all really tying together. And that is, we have all these different silos of movements in every state, in every city, in every country. A bunch of people are doing a bunch of double work.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And you don't even know that a city away, you know what I'm saying? You could have a
phone call away, an email away.
A phone call away.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, man, we doing this, but this the beautiful thing about it is that the work is being done in these areas. And so all it takes is the connector. And the beautiful thing about the age that we are in, what COVID, amongst the negative things that it gave us, one of the beautiful things that it gave us is it normalized this type of communication. This is normal. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So now I can have a check-in, or I can have the dropout, and you didn't know that there was a community-funded grocery store in Detroit. You didn't know that.
No.
But it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't know that here in Houston, there is a community-funded beauty supply store called The Black Store. It's called The Black Store.
That's dope.
My homeboy, and they doing it. And they are elbowing not even trying to make it a race thing about against this and that, but like the Asian beauty supply stores in that neighborhood are struggling because these guys are taking all the business because they quality and they hold no punches about who they represent. And they have a community. And then the beautiful thing about the Black Store is they're not just a beauty supply store because they're not just there for money. They're there as a community enrichment. So they have a grow garden in the back. They have pop-up shops with other Black business owners. You see what I'm saying? So all these things are actually pouring in. So, but these things are happening. These things, and of course we all know about how things go in Atlanta, you know. So I say all that to say that, man, what you are saying is spot on. And what I'd like from you is I always ask, you know, my guests their specific brand of advice, right? Because I can ask that same question and I can get multitude of answers, but I like to ask that even if you don't feel like, you know, you're at where you want to be at, there's a person who hasn't even filled out, hasn't even, you know, registered their company or hasn't even told anyone that they do anything. You know, and this time period is it could be discouraging depending on who you are, especially if you're thinking about starting. So I like your brand of advice for that person who is on the fence. Maybe they started, COVID hit, they want to quit. Or maybe they're thinking about starting, COVID hit, they don't want to start anymore. What would you say to that person?
I would say launch out and do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
And here's why. There is someone somewhere doing exactly what you're thinking about doing, and they're doing it in a very mediocre way. They're not perfect at it. They probably really suck at it, but they're doing it, and they're getting paid doing it.
Yeah.
Launch out. One of the scariest things for me to do was to set a current market price for what I do, because I'm used to, hey man, you know, it's a hobby, it's you know, it's a little side hustle kind of thing, you know, throw me a couple dollars, you know, buy my dinner, you know, whatever, just, you know, slide me something, I'm good. And it wasn't until my wife, she graduated from University of Illinois Business School. It wasn't until she and I had a long conversation about what I do and the potential that I could be making.
Yeah.
But she didn't come at it from an angle of currency or the amount of money I could be earning. She took it from an angle of, what are you teaching your children about dumbing down what they have to offer to the world and taking a cheaper price for it? That's the angle that she came at me with, and I was like,
that's cold. That's cold.
Let's rock, you know. And I jumped out there, and there are companies, organizations, individuals who will not blink. They will not balk at whatever your asking price is. So my advice to people who may be on the fence, jump out there, give yourself, you know, I would also say invest in yourself, because, you know, you can't be out there, you know, bootleg. That ain't cool. But until I got what I had, I did what I could with what I had. You know what I'm saying? And I saved money. My motto is, when buying new gear, like DJ gear or computer stuff, buy once, cry once.
Yeah, 100%.
Get what you need.
That's our
Save what you can to get what you need, so that you don't buy, something entry level, and then 2 years later you got to replace it, and things are more expensive. Just save your loot. Buy what you need, and invest in yourself. But I would say jump out there. Give yourself 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I'm gonna do this for 3 months. I'm gonna launch out there, and I'm gonna jump out here for 3 months and network.
There's something about that universe too, boy. There's something about that universe, man.
Bro.
When you decide, like, definitively, all right, I am going to do this for 3 months, and I'm gonna give it my all. And
3 months.
On 3 months and a day, I swear to whoever, I'm not gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
If I don't hit this certain thing, it'd be the whole 2 months and 30 days.
Yep.
And on that 31st day, you get a phone call, or you just a glimmer of just a light just comes through. Man. Yep. And I mean, it happens every single time, but it's when, man, a decision is such a powerful thing, a real decision.
Man, listen, researchers say we as individuals make anywhere between 60 and 80,000 individual choices each and every day. We make choices on what we're gonna eat, how long we're gonna sleep, to some degree, what direction we're gonna travel when we're traveling, where we're going, how long we're gonna spend doing X, Y, or Z. We make choices. And strangely enough, not making a choice is making a choice.
Yeah.
And so if you want something different, you got to choose something different. Now, to be fair, some of us have we have a few more options than others, to be fair.
Yeah.
But the reality is, all of us can choose to do what we can with what we have, regardless of how we feel about it.
100%.
All of us can choose to do that. Now, what prevents us from making the choice to invest in ourselves, to believe in ourselves, to trust in ourselves, that is where the work needs to happen. And sometimes you need somebody beyond you to help you arrive at those answers, because, otherwise you have this circular thinking going on. You know what I'm saying? I'm asking myself the question, and then I answer the question based on my experience, my fears, my limitations, and the answer that I come up with doesn't propel me into a direction where I can make another choice. 100%. So sometimes you need some other people to come in. You need somebody older than you, somebody your age, somebody younger than you, talk those things through, and I guarantee you they will give you insights on things that you're thinking about, dreaming about, hoping for, that you would never arrive at on your own. I guarantee it.
Man, I have no addition to that statement. I like to tag on my little extra at the end. I don't have anything to say to that one there, sir. You finally got me. You're almost at the end of the interview. You finally got it. Man, that's the truth. So here we are. We are nearing the end of our conversation. So I always say that this is probably the most important part, and that is, how can people get in contact with you for whatever they need in terms of what you offer? That's the first thing. How can they get in contact? And then the second thing is, how can we, as your community, better support you and your movement, business?
So the best way to catch up with my company, my wife's company, is through our website. It's Alasso Performance Solutions. And I'll spell it out. Yeah, it's ALLASO.
Okay.
Performance Solutions. Matter of fact, let me check the website to make sure I have the exact website address. because I always imagine it as being one thing, and my wife always reminds me that it's something different. Alasso.
Just imagine me, man. The whole name of my business is in my website. That's a long website, man. But
man, so the way my wife actually came up with the name Alasso Performance Solutions, Alasso literally means to be a hub. It's a Greek word that literally means to be a middle person that grabs the one hand of one individual and the other hand, a hand of another individual, and join them together.
yeah,
That's literally what it means. And so that's kind of what our goal is with our business, is to be a hub to help people just make the connections that they need in order to get the things that they need. Let's see. Man, I feel real bad. I should know this. ALASO. There it is. My wife would beat me if she saw me fumbling like this.
And it's all good, because what's going to happen is when people come to the website and check out the video, I'm going to have the the link to your website at the bottom, so I know we'll have it by then.
Got you. But the best way to catch up with us is through our website. We're on Facebook and Instagram. If you search Alasso, ALLASO Performance Solutions on Instagram or Facebook, you'll find us, and then the link to our website is there as well. And it is Alasso Performance Solutions, all of those words, ALLASO PERFORMANCE solutions.com. That is the website. And in that website, you'll see all of the other umbrella companies as well. And as far as what the community could do to assist us in achieving our goal, is to basically do similar to what we're doing. If you have a need of back office support for your small business, and you can't afford a full-blown accounting agency, check us out. If you need assistance if you have an idea for creating a podcast and you don't know where to start and you have content, I can help you flip that information into a podcast or a blog, YouTube channel, whole host of different things. Those are the kinds of things that the community could help as it relates to helping us achieve our mission.
Well, look, man, I, number one, want to thank you for indulging me and my various, not only questions, but, tirades that I go on. You got me with that last one. You shut me down on that last one. Man, I'm just appreciative, man. I'm really I'm excited about people getting to hear this and, hopefully connecting with you and your wife, and, continuing to be an Alasso, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I'm grateful for the connect. I'm really, really appreciative of the opportunity to share. And I look forward to seeing what happens next, man. I think, being in your position, you have a unique ability of connecting communities and connecting people. And that's a gift. And the ability to do that with skill, with intentionality, with grace, that's a dope thing to have, man. So I think both the Houston community and the community, our community as a whole, is better as a result of you being in your lane, doing your thing, because there's a lot of things that a lot of us are doing, but we don't know what the other person's doing unless someone lets us know and fills us in and keeps us abreast of what's happening and what's changing and what's emerging. And I think you sit in a very unique position, and I'm grateful that you're there. I'm grateful that you're doing it with style and grace. And yeah, man, I'm honored to play a small role in helping you achieve whatever it is that you feel led to do.
No, man, I appreciate it. That's you probably don't even understand how encouraging that is, and I'm gonna leave it at that, man. That's very encouraging because sometimes, you know, you could just I've said it in my mind that at this point I ain't stopping. So even when, you know, I'm like, what am I eating? Like, is anybody even looking at this? You know what I'm saying? Does anybody even care? You know, when I'm like, I ain't stopping. So people have to literally come and have a come to Jesus moment with me, and all my friends are like, look, Mo, this ain't it. I'm like, for real?
Yeah.
Nah, I ain't stopping.
Yeah, man, it matters, man. It matters to the community at large. It matters to the community in which you live. And as a Black father, as a Black man, it matters to your children, bro, to allow them to see you sacrifice. In one of the videos you shared with me, you were talking about how you're sacrificing today so that you can do what you want to do later.
Yeah.
And I think as a community, man, if we could drill that into the DNA of our children, it's called deferred gratification. Sacrifice today so that you can have what you want down the road. It's the same concept of do what you gotta do today so that you can do what you want to do tomorrow. And your children are watching you do that, man, and you're modeling that for them. And you have absolutely no idea what that's doing, bro. That is restructuring the synapses in their brains, because this is what their normal is. This is what this is their universe. This is what they are. This is all they know. They're going to be so much further down the road than their counterparts by watching what you do with this business, man. You have no idea, none whatsoever, how this is helping them prepare to enter into the world. And I think as Black people, man, that's one of the disservices that's one of the services that we have in our community, man. You get 18, parents put you out, and bro, you're drilling into them this think on your own, think for yourself, do for self mentality, man. Bro, even if it doesn't matter to anybody else, you're changing a generation in your crib. That is invaluable, man, invaluable. So I want to encourage you, because I know it gets dark, I know it gets rough, I know it gets lonely. Being an entrepreneur is very lonely, because sometimes even your spouse don't get it. Your kids don't understand why daddy can't go out and play, because he got to have this interview with this knucklehead sitting across the screen from him. They don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so as a Black man, you need to know, man, it matters. It matters. What you do matters, man.
Man, I'm taking it in. I received. I'm taking that in. It's encouraging, and I hope that whoever sees this in the way that I am, I hope that you guys are encouraged in that way. And on that note, man, first and foremost, like I said, again, I want to thank you for stopping through. I want to thank whoever sees this for sticking with us, and hopefully you got something from this. We do this often, and I won't put a date on it anymore because we're working on something. We're working on making this more dynamic. But I will say that this is something that I intend to keep going for as long as it makes sense. And it seems like it's beginning to make more sense than it ever has. So on that note, I'm gonna let everybody go. I'm gonna let you go. Before I let you go, gotta drop the motto. And if you don't know the motto by now, shame on you. Shame on you. If you call yourself a hustler and your hustle motivates, then you got to check in. And on that note, we out. Terrance, appreciate you, man. I'll be talking with you.
Salute.
Salute.